To 500 miles on a trek rail. Just saw like a it can't be a kangaroo. We're in the Midlands. So what have I done to me trek rail? When I'm in the Midlands, I like to speak a bit more north. Well, I've upped my travel to 170mm along with the upgrade. I'm here in Hopton, where there's some really great downhill, some proper downhill tracks actually. Now what do I mean by that? It's just, you know, really, if you're racing flat out here, you need a downhill bike, which means that the amount of travel suspension on the front and rear of your bike will go to 200mm, which is, you know, it's a lot of travel. It means you can't pedal your bike around very easily unless you are heading downhill. Hence the reason why they're called downhill bikes. I'm getting around okay with this 150mm at the back, 170mm forks. I must admit, unless I'm absolutely going full pelt, because actually the faster you go on downhill, the easier it becomes. So any hesitations on gaps and stuff like that, I'm finding some hairy moments. Just stuck the rail in boost, just to have a little chat to the camera. Anyone who's interested in listening a little bit further to my thoughts on my trek rail e-bike 9.8 and the changes that I've made to it, keep watching. Stuff like this, it's not like this is steep, but just I give it a couple of pedal strokes and I get up to speed. The motor's got a very surgy characteristic. Tight one, the motor's there for you. The only one I can compare it to is what comes on the Specialized Levo, which I would say is perhaps a touch better motor. But look, there's not a lot in it, and this motor's never really lacked any power that I need. It's just, it's a bit loud, and you know, you can see it on the bike. Bosch, you know, it's a bit of a washing machine brand. The Levo's managed to make it a bit more cool, I reckon. But hey, there's no hiding the fact we're on e-bikes. Let's not hide it. Let's embrace it. Okay, so let me just give this bike a few criticisms, because I'm always going on about how I love this thing. Okay, first of all, the tyre. Quickly changed that to an eddy current 2.4 front. I've still got the Bont Ranger that came with the back, but the Bont Ranger side knobs are just nothing. And this eddy current tyre, it is the business. Like, it has been good for me. There were question marks about whether I should get the 2.6 or the 2.4. I mean, on a normal bike, 2.4 seems quite big, so yeah, I don't want to get into that plus bike sort of thing too much. So moving on. So I'm criticising this bike. Don't know, the reactive shock is nice in the pedal position. Don't have any problem with it now in pedally trail. I guess sometimes in open position I wish it had a compression knob, because all you've got is you got your PSI you pump up, and then you do your rebound, and you either choose pedal or open. They've got some through shaft technology going on, which is cool. Maybe need some kind of custom tune there, which is going to cost money, so I don't know. I quite like the fact that it's air, and I'm not sure if this bike would suit coil. Supposed to be knocking this bike, what's so bad about it? So I'm making my own Bosch lock ring tool. Yeah, so drill a hole through there, get these to all fit. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but a bit cheaper than the one you get from Bosch. It's got a little washer that goes chamfer side that way. Now to stop this happening again, I'm going to get this Loctite on there. Might as well do what it says on the tin. And with this thing, it's got some writing on one side. It's a reversible thread. This is what I made earlier. 54 newton meters, that's about 24. Happy with that? That's a wrap. I like the battery comes out, you know, because you can't always like go home and just plug it in, you might need to remove it. But what makes me feel a bit funny about the battery is I took it out the other day, it was quite dusty inside, and I thought, what, have they not designed that to keep dust out? It's a bit weird. I'm sure it won't matter too much. Let's see, dropper post is cool. The trigger's a bit, you know, look, I'm trying to knock these bikes, yeah. These bikes are close to perfection, you know. You try and find these little things to sort of knock about them. Oh look, knock block, knock that. It's actually pretty cool. Look, they're so perfect these days. We're trying to find these little things that, oh, it could have a longer dropper. I mean, this dropper's fine for me. I'm not a big long-legged person. I even put the seat down so I can absolutely slam it when I'm going downhill. It does have a bit of a rattle to it, you know, but I'm just finding small things to knock about this bike. And I'm sure it'd be the same with any bike, but I guess the more money you spend on a bike, the more you expect them to iron out these small little problems. We're so fussy. We're spoiled bike riders these days, but we want to know that we're spending the money on the right thing as well. Because once you've bought it, once you've ridden it, once you've crashed it, you can't just take it back to the shop and go, mate, I don't like that. Oh, it's got a scratch on it, sorry, but can I have my money back? It doesn't really work like that. So many brands competing now. Look, I had one look at the Trek Rail. I thought, bam, looks like a tasty bike. Didn't really like the design of the previous Trek. I just saw a picture of it sort of a while ago. Just looked really like, ugh, wouldn't ride that. This looks like a beautiful bike. Let's just stop here. Let's just stop and admire the bike. It is a thing of beauty. These bikes got a mullet. Not my hair, but my rear wheel. 27.5, 148 boost. What happened was I had a bit of bad luck with my rear wheel. It broke, and meanwhile, while I was waiting for my replacement, I got a Hope hub laced to a nice, strong rim, Fortus. Well, it might not be as fast on your more like Enduro XC flat sections, but it's quite fun, and it's a little bit easier for me to jump with. I've been to loads of places. Forest of Dean, the jump line there is quite big. Anyway, I'm back in Hopton, where it all began, where I first rode my first e-bike, and I'm here to say that the Speedbox 3 is still working fine, although I haven't updated it, and the shop says don't update to the latest software. Here we go, and the downhill. Noises coming out the back of the bike there. Is it a rock? Is it the tyre? Trek rail. Absolutely loving life. Boom. Just put the shock in the downhill position, and to be honest, nice, you know. Woo. It does give you that slight little bit of extra speed just by tracking the ground better. Obviously, if I was on a trail centre, like I was saying earlier, whacking it into the pedal mode seems to work pretty nice as well. That downhill open, full open, it ain't too bad. So I came up to Cwmcarn for the day, just to do a bit of trail biking. Do you know what? These trails are sick. I'm gonna come back. Met a couple of guys, showed me some more off the beaten tracks. They were cool, but I've still got 3 bars of battery. And we've done, I don't know how many miles. Did a whole trail which was 15 kilometers plus, I think I did about 6 miles before that. Like I say, three bars left on after all of that. Probably enough to say do that maybe again, which is pretty unbelievable. I'm not too tired, because that's what e-bikes do, they sort of take away that tiredness. It does slacken the bike out a bit, but when I had my 29-inch back wheel, I hardly felt it at all. Now I have my mullet set up, I must admit I am leaning back a lot when I'm going uphill. So mullet plus 170 forks. Expect a pretty, I haven't measured the head angle, but what I've done is I flipped the chip into the up position to try to counteract, you know, I don't want a severe downhill bike. Another fire road climb done. And that's exactly why I bought the Trek rail, so I can shuttle myself. But in conclusion, I'd like to say whether the Trek rail works as a bike that you want to buy just to shuttle yourself and practice downhill. And I'm going to give you my truths, which is actually the bike's turned into something more than that, and it's the type of bike that I can take to a place like Surrey Hills in the UK and smash out a lot of miles, and then the in-between uphills are kind of just swept away quite quickly. So of course I'm getting more practice on the downs, but then you come to a real place that's downhill like this, Hopton, and yeah, you can't just fly like a downhill bike. I mean, I'm not the fastest guy anyway, but it is sort of there or thereabouts. You know, 150 at the back isn't a lot of travel for the type of riding that I like doing, but I just have to be a bit more careful. And it's a heavier bike, it's a bigger bike, so it doesn't tick all boxes, but some boxes that it does tick, it ticks them really well, and it's getting me to the top without needing an uplift. It's getting me to the top of trails and it does get me out of tricky situations with the amount of travel at the front. I think it's the amount of travel at the back that I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with my shock, this reactive shock from Trek or Rock Shocks, whoever built it. I might get a different shock. I'm okay with most other components. As for the Speedbox situation, I'm still on the 75 Newton meter torque motor, which came originally. And now I don't have this deep feeling to like get an extra 10 Newton meters of torque. I can't remember thinking, wish I had an extra 10 Newton meters of torque. But you know, all software updates are good. They must have ironed out a few other problems. So I'd like it, but I've been advised not to get it, seeing as I've got the Speedbox. So that's a tricky situation, and I'll have to see how that unfolds. I really don't know. I'm none the wiser than, you know, anybody else in this situation. So if anybody else has some tips, please comment.